The last night she ever spent with him, the rain hammered the roof like it wanted in. Every time thunder cracked outside their small Kentucky farmhouse, Anna Blake flinched, but not because of the storm. It was 2:12 a.m. Her husband, Marcus, was still awake, pacing the floor downstairs. She could hear the worn hardwood creak under his boots, the same way it had the night before and the night before that. Something had changed in him lately, something dark, and Anna was beginning to fear that the man she'd once thought charming was, in fact, hiding something horrific. She clutched her side, still sore from the bruise he left last week. "You made me angry," he had said with a cold, unnerving calm. "It's your fault, Anna. You know how to push buttons." But that night, it wasn't just the bruises. It was something else. Something she'd seen in the barn behind their home. Earlier that evening, when Marcus had gone into town for supplies, Anna ventured outside, trying to get air, trying to think. A raccoon had been scratching at the barn door, so she'd gone to shoo it away. But when she opened the door, she froze. There, beneath a torn blue tarp, was a lockbox. Not that strange. Marcus had always been secretive. But inside were clippings. Dozens of newspaper clippings, all from different towns. All of missing women. Some had photos. Some had descriptions. One had the words, "last seen near Highway 63" scribbled in Marcus's unmistakable handwriting. And tucked between the pages was a small pendant, shaped like a crescent moon, caked in dirt, and something else she didn't want to think about. She almost didn't put it back. She almost ran. But fear paralyzed her, and Marcus was already pulling back up the driveway when she turned around. Now, hours later, she was lying in bed, pretending to be asleep, wondering if he knew she'd been in the barn, wondering if he'd kill her next. The next morning, Anna did something she never thought she'd have the courage to do. She left. She waited until Marcus was in the shower, grabbed her keys, her purse, and the few $100s she'd hidden inside a hollowed-out copy of Gone Girl, and drove, barefoot, breathless, as far as her old Chevy would take her. She didn't call the police. Not at first. She drove straight to her sister's apartment in Louisville, shaking the entire time. "I think he's done something horrible," she whispered, sitting on the couch with a mug of untouched coffee. "I think he's killed people." Her sister, Mia, tried to stay calm. "What are you talking about?" So Anna told her everything. The bruises, the barn, the clippings, the pendant. And as she did, Mia's face went pale. "You know, there was a girl who went missing 2 towns over last month. College student. She was wearing a moon necklace when they last saw her." Anna's mug slipped from her hands. Coffee splattered across the floor. That night, Anna called the sheriff's department anonymously. She didn't say her name. She didn't say Marcus's name. She only told them to check the barn. The next morning, her phone rang. Unknown number. She didn't answer. Then a voicemail came through. It was Marcus. "Anna," he said in a voice so calm it made her skin crawl, "you left the back door open. I'd hate for something bad to happen to you or your sister. You should really learn to be more careful." What followed was the beginning of a nightmare. 2 days later, the sheriff's department raided the Blake property. What they found confirmed every fear Anna had tried to bury. In the barn, beneath the same lockbox, was a small, hand-dug pit covered with wood planks and gravel. Inside it, wrapped in tarp and duct tape, were the partially decomposed remains of 2 women. One was identified quickly, the other, not yet. Inside the house, officers found more newspaper clippings, more trinkets, a drawer of women's jewelry, and a blood-stained hunting knife hidden behind the false wall of a cabinet. Marcus, however, was gone. He'd vanished into the wind. For the next 72 hours, a manhunt began. The local news picked up the story. Husband vanishes after discovery of human remains on rural farm. No names were released yet, but Anna knew it was only a matter of time. She called the police, gave them her name, her statement, her horror, and that's when she learned something that made her blood freeze. Marcus Blake had changed his name before they met, and his real name was linked to an unsolved double homicide from over a decade ago. In a completely different state, Anna's ex-husband wasn't just abusive, that he was, very likely, a serial killer, and he was still out there. The clippings, the bodies, and the lies. The name Marcus Blake wasn't real. That revelation hit Anna like a punch to the chest. In the days following the police raid of the farmhouse, detectives uncovered records buried beneath years of sealed files and scattered aliases. The man Anna had married, the one she had shared a home and a bed with for 5 years, had been born Aaron Michael Crenshaw, a name linked to a 2008 double homicide in Mississippi. Back then, the case had gone cold. 2 women, both sex workers from Biloxi, had vanished after leaving a bar with a man who matched Aaron's description. Their bodies had been found weeks later in the woods outside Gulfport, both strangled, both missing personal items. The man they were last seen with? Never identified. Until now, AS investigators reopened the cold case. Anna watched the pieces of her marriage fall apart in real time. Only now, every crack was soaked in blood, the trophies in the drawer when detectives cataloged the evidence pulled from the farmhouse. They found 13 separate items of jewelry, all belonging to women who had either vanished or turned up dead across several states. The sapphire ring from Arkansas, but a silver locket engraved with the letter R linked to a girl missing in Missouri, and the crescent moon pendant tied directly to Kayla Brennan, a 22-year-old student who vanished after a music festival 6 months earlier. Each trinket was carefully tucked into a velvet-lined drawer in Marcus's, or rather, Aaron's, workroom. It was his trophy case, the serial killer's private museum of horrors. And the worst part? Anna had seen that drawer 100 times. She'd opened it once looking for batteries. He told her never to touch his keepsakes. She never questioned it again. The woman in the ground, only one of the 2 bodies found beneath the barn, had been identified so far. Her name was Eliza Hampton, 28, from Bowling Green, Kentucky. She'd been reported missing 2 years prior. Her last known location, a gas station just off Highway 63, the same route Anna and Marcus had traveled frequently to visit his cousin. She never met the cousin. Eliza's skull had a large fracture. Her wrists were bound with the same type of rope Marcus kept in the garage. She had been buried in a fetal position, wrapped in a shower curtain. The second body had no ID. No missing person report matched her description. But there was one disturbing clue, a faded tattoo on her forearm that read, "Resist." Anna had never seen her before, but when detectives showed her a photo of the tattoo, she felt a shiver down her spine. Marcus had the same word tattooed on his rib cage. He told Anna once it was a lyric from a punk band he loved as a teen. Now, she wasn't so sure. The marriage that was a cover. As Anna pieced together the history of her marriage, she realized that almost everything she thought she knew about Marcus was a fabrication. He said he was from Ohio. He was actually from southern Alabama. He said he worked as a contractor. But she now learned he bounced between small jobs under fake names, never holding employment for longer than a few months. Even their wedding license had an alias. The witnesses he provided were total strangers, likely paid or duped. Anna wasn't just married to a killer. She was his alibi. A respectable life, a quiet wife, a small farmhouse tucked away from prying eyes. It gave him cover, safety, a mask of normalcy while he fed a darkness no one suspected. And the most chilling question of all, how many others had there been? The videotapes. On the 3rd day of the investigation, officers uncovered a small wooden box hidden beneath a floorboard in the master bedroom, the very room Anna had slept in for years. Inside were 5 mini DV tapes. Each one was labeled only with a date. The first was from 2014. The most recent, from just 4 months ago. Detectives wouldn't let Anna watch. But one of them, a young woman named Detective Clara Voss, pulled her aside later that evening. "You don't need to see what's on those tapes," she said gently. "But I need you to know, he recorded at least some of the attacks. He kept them like souvenirs." Anna vomited in the bathroom for 10 minutes, the killer on the run despite an intense manhunt stretching across Kentucky, Tennessee, and parts of Alabama. Marcus, or Aaron, remained missing. His truck was found abandoned on a forest access road 40 miles from the farmhouse. Inside, a map with several towns circled, a burner phone, and an empty beer bottle. There were no fingerprints, no usable DNA. But there was something far more disturbing. A folded piece of paper with Anna's name written in bold letters. Underneath, the words, "I'm not done." A pattern emerges with the help of federal agencies. The timeline of his killings began to emerge. 2008. First known double homicide in Mississippi. 2011. Disappearance of Chelsea Miles. Last seen outside a Texas truck stop. 2014. Unidentified woman. body found in Alabama. Found with rope. Missing jewelry. 2017, Eliza Hampton, Kentucky. Buried behind his property. 2023, Kayla Brennan. Her necklace found in Marcus's lockbox. And those were just the ones they knew about. It became clear that Anna hadn't escaped. By luck, she had escaped just before she joined them. Anna's silence breaks for 2 weeks. Anna stayed hidden at her sister's apartment. But the guilt and the fear gnawed at her every minute. She couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, could barely speak. And then a reporter from a regional news outlet tracked her down. "I don't want to do an interview," she said, heart pounding. But the reporter said something that changed her mind. There might be other women. Still out there. Still missing. They need someone to speak. So Anna sat down in front of a camera, told the world what she knew, what she saw, what she survived. She held up the crescent moon necklace and said, voice trembling, "He gave this to me on our 2nd anniversary. Said it reminded him of me. Sweet, quiet, mysterious. I think he took it from someone he murdered." The story went viral. That same night, a woman in Tennessee came forward. She had escaped a man named Mark in 2016 after a violent encounter in a motel room. A man who wore cologne that smelled like cedar and vanilla, who had a tattoo that said "resist." Other victims, other names. The woman's name was Tara Gibbons, and she had never planned on coming forward. For nearly a decade, she buried that motel room memory deep in the parts of her mind reserved for nightmares, the kind you wake up from sweating, swearing it didn't happen. But when she saw Anna Blake's tearful interview on the local news, something inside her cracked. The crescent moon necklace, the tattoo, the smell of cedar. She knew that man. And if what Anna said was true, if he'd killed others, then Tara wasn't just a survivor. She was an unfinished story. The motel in Nashville. It was 2016. Tara had just turned 24. A few rough years with addiction and homelessness had put her in dangerous positions before, but that night, at the Sleep Easy off I-24, she thought she was safe. He called himself Mark Rivers, said he was passing through, worked construction, looked lonely enough to seem harmless. He was clean, had a charming smile, and handed her 2 crisp $100 bills before even asking her name. But once the door closed, everything changed. He tied her wrists with a phone cord, slapped her hard enough to split her lip, whispered in her ear, "You're not the first. You won't be the last." She fought, bit his arm, scratched his face, and when he went to retrieve something from his bag, she never saw what. She grabbed the lamp from the nightstand and smashed it over his head. She ran, barefoot, bleeding, into the parking lot. A couple in the next room saw her and called 911. By the time police arrived, he was gone. No name, no ID. No trace. A trail of aliases. Once Tara came forward, the FBI expanded their database search. They traced back several pseudonyms linked to rental records, old job applications, and witness statements across the Southeast. Mark Rivers, Nashville, Tennessee, 2016. Michael Cruz, Montgomery, Alabama, 2014. Danny Rourke, Jackson, Mississippi, 2011. Marcus Blake, Anna's husband, 2020 to 2024. Each alias corresponded with a known disappearance or homicide in the region. In each case, the victims were women, often alone, often transient or vulnerable. And in nearly every case, the crime remained unsolved until now. The Jane Doe tattoo back in Kentucky, the second body recovered from the pit behind Anna's barn, was still unidentified. She had no matching dental records, no fingerprints on file, and no DNA matches yet. But the resist tattoo became a key clue. Tara remembered something else. He told me his sister had that tattoo too, that she died in a fire when they were teenagers. I think he was lying, but maybe not. Investigators dug deeper. A fire, a sister. They uncovered a 1997 house fire in Escambia County, Florida. A 14-year-old girl named Rachel Crenshaw had died. Her brother, Aaron, the future Marcus, was 16 at the time. The tattoo? Identical. And that changed everything. Because if Rachel hadn't died in that fire, could the Jane Doe in the pit be her? A brother's dark origin. Police now believe the house fire that killed Rachel Crenshaw may have been staged, or perhaps misreported. The body recovered from the fire was badly burned and never conclusively identified. But now, a shocking theory emerged. What if Rachel didn't die? What if she disappeared, willingly or not, and Aaron killed her later? The idea chilled Anna to her core. He never talked about his family, never mentioned a sister. I didn't even know he had one. But neighbors from Aaron's childhood said otherwise. One woman recalled. Those two were inseparable. But Rachel was different, wild, defiant, always pushing back against her parents. Against him. Detectives now suspected Jane Doe was Rachel Crenshaw, possibly the first victim, and if Aaron killed his own sister, it may have been the moment his transformation began. Anna under surveillance, though Marcus, Aaron, was still missing. Anna began to notice strange things. Her sister's car had its tires slashed in the driveway. A man was seen watching their apartment from across the street, but disappeared before police arrived. A note was slid under their door. I know what you told them. Anna was terrified, but she refused to run again. Instead, she agreed to enter protective custody. The FBI relocated her to a secure location. They hoped using her, carefully and safely, might draw him out, because serial killers with narcissistic tendencies often return to what threatens them. And Anna wasn't just a threat. She was the one who got away. The phone call day 34 after Marcus's disappearance, at 1:12 a.m. The burner phone assigned to Anna under her protection rang. Only one other person had the number, her handler, but it wasn't him. Hello, beautiful, came the voice on the other end. Marcus. Anna froze. Her FBI detail immediately began tracing the call. That he continued, calm and slow. You talked. You shouldn't have. But I'm not mad. I just want to finish our story. Anna said nothing. I left you alive for a reason. Because you were special. Different. But now you've changed. You let them make you weak. He hung up. The call lasted 38 seconds. Enough for the FBI to track it to a burner tower in Ashland, Kentucky. They were close. The dead drop discovery agents descended on Ashland, combing through businesses and hotels. Behind a shuttered gas station, they found a plastic storage container hidden inside a broken vending machine. Inside, another mini DV tape, a disposable camera, and a handwritten note that read, I didn't want to hurt Rachel, but she stopped listening, just like the rest. On the tape was footage too disturbing to describe in detail. Marcus, filming himself, holding the camera inches from his face. They think they know me, he whispers. But the real me, that's buried deep. Like Rachel, like the rest. He laughs. Then the camera pans to what appears to be a shallow grave. The timestamp? 1 week ago. A race against time. The FBI now believes Marcus may have abducted another victim. A new one. The footage suggests she was buried alive, somewhere remote, possibly in the Ashland region. And if that timestamp was accurate, she could still be out there, alive, buried, running on borrowed time. AS agents and volunteers spread out to search the dense woods and surrounding countryside. Anna waited in silence at the safe house. Her body shook. Not from fear, but from fury. I survived him, she said through gritted teeth. But if someone else is out there, I'll do whatever it takes to bring him in. Buried alive. The victim no one knew about. The forest was eerily silent. At dawn, a thick fog curling low over the tree line like breath on glass. Search teams had been combing through Ashland, Kentucky for nearly 36 hours after the discovery of the tape and the timestamped footage that suggested one unthinkable truth. Marcus Blake, born Aaron Crenshaw, had taken another woman. And this one might still be alive. The clock was ticking. The FBI, local police, and even volunteers worked side by side, scanning terrain, flying drones, sending dogs into the underbrush. Every second mattered. Because if what Marcus had implied was true, someone had been buried a week ago. That would mean she had hours left. Maybe less. The frame-by-frame breakdown at Quantico. FBI analysts dissected the mini DV footage frame by frame. The final seconds of the video showed Marcus panning over a mound of dirt, what he called Rachel's garden. The frame froze when one analyst spotted something easily missed, a hand, pale fingers, just barely pushing up through a loose patch of soil. A movement so subtle it could have been wind, except the ground quivered. Deliberately. She was alive when it was filmed, but the question was, where? Anna's memory unlocks a lead while agents scrambled to match the terrain from the video to topographic maps of the area. Anna sat quietly in her secured location. Rewatching the video herself, she asked for it. Against everyone's advice, she needed to see. She had to see. About two-thirds in. As the camera shook slightly and Marcus hummed a melody, she gasped. "He used to sing that in the car," she whispered. "Always when we were driving down to his grandfather's old hunting property. He called it his quiet place." "Where was that?" her handler asked. "Near Blaine, Lawrence County. It's not on GPS." He said that was the point. Within the hour, teams were en route to the location. The girl in the box, the first team to arrive, found a disturbed patch of soil near an abandoned hunting shack. A cadaver dog began barking furiously. Agents dug with everything they had. Just 20 inches down, they hit plywood, and beneath it, a makeshift wooden coffin. The kind someone could build in a workshop with basic tools. Inside it was a young woman. Alive. Barely. Her name was Cassidy Knox, 22 years old. College student. Part-time waitress. Cassidy had disappeared 10 days earlier from a rest stop on I-64. Her car was found with the keys still in the ignition. At the time, it hadn't triggered major headlines. She was classified as a likely runaway. But now the truth was clear. Marcus had taken her, chosen her, filmed her, buried her alive, with just enough air to keep her suffering stretched out like piano wire. The EMTs who opened the box said she was dehydrated, starved, and barely responsive, but alive. Cassidy later told agents. "He talked to me through a pipe. He'd visit every day." Said, "I reminded him of someone." Said, "I needed to understand what quiet felt like." She passed out before she could say more to Marcus's spiral. The discovery of Cassidy's survival sent Marcus, wherever he was, into a tailspin. 2 days later, a local news station in Charleston, West Virginia received a manila envelope with no return address. Inside, a photo of Cassidy, buried, eyes shut, that a lock of her hair, and a letter that read, "You cheated. You took her away before the garden was ready." It was the first time Marcus had ever directly acknowledged defeat, and it made him more dangerous than ever. The pattern breaks. Until this point, Marcus had followed a disturbingly consistent MO. Charm the victim, take a keepsake record, apportion kill, and bury, leave no trace. But Cassidy changed the script. He'd let her live longer than anyone. He'd watched her. He'd spoken to her. He'd fed her once, she later recalled. He'd even played music outside her box. Old cassette tapes, mostly punk rock and early blues. It was as if, in some twisted way, Marcus wanted a witness, and now he had one. Anna speaks to Cassidy. It was a controversial decision, but under psychiatric guidance and careful security, Cassidy and Anna were allowed to meet in the hospital. The two women stared at each other for a long time. No words at first, just pain. Eventually, Cassidy whispered, "You got out." "I didn't think I would." Anna held her hand. "Neither did I." Cassidy shared one chilling detail. He talked about Anna constantly. He said, "You betrayed him. That you took away the silence. That you brought the noise back." Marcus saw Anna's escape and her testimony as not just betrayal, but warned he was hunting her, but also trying to replace her. Cassidy was meant to be the new Anna, but she wasn't the same. She fought. She cried. She begged. And that disappointed him. A new name surfaces with renewed attention on Marcus's past. A tip came in from a retired sheriff's deputy in rural Alabama. The man remembered arresting a teen named Aaron Crenshaw in 1999 for animal cruelty. Something about a dog found mutilated behind the high school. The charges were dropped. The boy's father pulled strings. But what the deputy remembered most was Aaron's chilling words when questioned. "I just wanted to see what it felt like." From animals to humans, experts now believe Marcus's trajectory followed a classic serial killer escalation. Animal mutilation and his teen sister's disappearance. Possibly his first human kill, years of transient behavior and false identity, systematic targeting of women across state lines, trophy keeping, video documentation, and now performance. He was getting bolder, leaving messages, creating puzzles, watching from the shadows. One profiler called him the Quiet Butcher. Anna's breaking point. One night, Anna woke up in her safe house to find a Polaroid pinned to the outside window. Her and Cassidy in the hospital, smiling, taken from outside the building. Security footage showed no intruder, no movement. It was as if he'd slipped through walls. Anna screamed, not in fear, but in rage. "I want this over," she told the FBI. "Use me." "Use you how?" her handler asked. She looked him in the eyes. Bait. Part 5. Setting. The trap. When the hunter becomes the hunted, it was a desperate idea. Point one that no agent liked, and no rulebook supported. But Anna Blake was tired of being a ghost in someone else's nightmare. She wanted her life back, not the shattered version left behind after she escaped her husband, but something closer to real peace. And she knew. Marcus Blake, born Aaron Crenshaw, would never let that happen while he was still out there. So she proposed a plan. A bold one, but she would walk back into the world and lure him out. The setup, it started with a carefully crafted deception. The FBI staged a televised interview, pretending Anna had left protection to reclaim her life. She appeared on a national morning show in New York, heavily guarded, off camera, and spoke directly to the camera with a rehearsed message that Marcus would understand. I won't hide anymore. You wanted silence, but all you created was noise. I'm not afraid of you anymore. That was all she said. But the code in those words was intentional. Silence and noise were specific triggers from their marriage. Marcus's obsession with control, his hatred for unpredictability. They were bait, and it worked. The first move: 2 days after the interview aired, Anna received a red envelope at the front desk of the hotel where the segment had been filmed. Inside was a single sheet of paper, neatly typed. Come back to the quiet. One last time. No more audience. Just you and me. There was also a printed GPS coordinate. In a remote stretch of Virginia forest known as Three Devils Ridge. It was the same area where Rachel Crenshaw's remains, Marcus's sister, had supposedly never been found. Until now, the tactical team prepares. The FBI couldn't refuse the opportunity. They scouted the GPS location from above and below. Drones, surveillance teams, snipers hidden in tree blinds. Ground penetrating. Radar. Thermal imaging. Nothing. Not even a footprint. But Marcus was too smart to make it easy. If he'd survived this long, killing for over a decade under multiple identities, he wouldn't show unless he was sure. Unless Anna went. The walk into the woods in a crisp fall morning. Anna put on a wire and a concealed tracker. She wore jeans, hiking boots, and a flannel. The same outfit she wore the first time Marcus took her camping. Back then, she thought he was romantic. Now, every stitch of the outfit made her feel like she was dressing for her own funeral. Are you sure? Her handler asked. She nodded. If I don't finish this, he'll keep going. A chopper hovered. Out of sight. A 20-person tactical unit followed on foot, a full mile behind. Anna entered the woods alone. The garden, it took her 2 hours to reach the spot. A clearing surrounded by thick brush. The leaves were red and gold. The air was still, and in the middle of it stood something that made her breath catch. A swing. A wooden swing, nailed into the low branch of a maple tree. She knew it instantly. It was Rachel's swing. From childhood, somehow, Marcus had rebuilt it, and sitting underneath it was a small table. On top, a cassette player, a ceramic mug, filled with black coffee, and a piece of paper with 2 words, sit. Listen. Anna hesitated, then pressed play. The tape. Marcus's voice came through with static. Did you really think I wouldn't find you again? That you could crawl out of my story and start your own? There was a pause. Cassidy was weak. I gave her days. She still cried. Rachel never cried. You didn't either, until the end. Another pause, then the sound of digging. Shovel. Dirt. Breathing. This is our garden, Anna. Yours and mine. One last bloom before winter. Come see what I've made for you. The recording ended. Anna's hands shook. But she didn't cry. She whispered, I'm here, Marcus. And that's when she heard a voice behind her. I know. Face to face with a monster, he stepped out of the woods wearing a camouflage jacket and dark jeans. His beard was longer. Hair thinner. He looked thinner, too. Gaunt even. But the eyes were the same. Cold. Fixed. Unblinking. Anna didn't move. Marcus smiled. You look good. You look like a ghost, she said. I've always been one. You just finally started seeing it. He stepped closer. Why didn't you just kill me that night? She asked. He blinked, slowly. Because I loved you. Her voice hardened. You don't kill the people you love. He tilted his head. That's not true. I loved Rachel, and I buried her twice. The signal. Anna pressed her left thumb against her belt. Twice. Fast. The signal. But Marcus was already lunging. She ducked, instinctively, as he pulled a knife from his jacket. It grazed her shoulder, but she was already moving. A shout rang out. FBI? Hands where we can see them. Marcus spun and bolted. Anna hit the ground, clutching her arm. Shots rang out through the trees. Chopper blades thundered overhead. Dogs barked. And within 3 minutes, the man known as Marcus Blake, the Quiet Butcher, was finally tackled to the forest floor, bloody, screaming, laughing. The arrest when they cuffed him, he whispered to the agent. She was always the loudest. He didn't resist, didn't ask for a lawyer, just sat in the back of the van, humming the same lullaby he used to play for Anna at night. Long black veil. The evidence locker inside his pack they found. A camera with fresh footage, a necklace. Cassidy's a notebook filled with drawings of Anna, each with a red slash through her throat, and a map. The map showed 14 marked locations across 5 states, each marked with a crescent moon. Graves. The courtroom awaits. Marcus Blake is now in federal custody, facing 13 murder charges across multiple states, with more pending. Anna has testified before a grand jury. Cassidy Knox will too, when she's strong enough. The case is expected to go to trial in late 2025. But in many ways, the legal battle is the smallest part of the story. For Anna, survival isn't just about living anymore. It's about remembering the other women, the ones who didn't make it, and those whose names the world still doesn't know. Part 6. Justice in the Shadows. The final reckoning. The courtroom was silent as the doors opened. Marcus Blake, now prisoner #374591, born Aaron Crenshaw, was led and shackled and pale. His once smug expression replaced by something new. Emptiness. The room was full, yet cold. Journalists, survivors, families of the dead, and Anna. She didn't sit in the back this time. She sat front row, directly in his line of sight. For the first time in years, she looked at her ex-husband with eyes unclouded by fear that he looked back. But there was no power left in his stare. A trial for the dead. The prosecution laid out its evidence with surgical precision. The footage, the trophies, the journals, the fingerprints, and most damning, the survivor's testimony. Cassidy Knox, no longer the trembling, starved girl found underground, took the stand with her hair in a tight bun, wearing the necklace Marcus had once kept as a trophy. Her voice wavered, but never broke. He said I reminded him of someone. He told me I'd be quiet soon. He buried me like I wasn't real. The courtroom sat in stunned silence as she described the hours underground, the smell of dirt, the screams that no one heard. I thought I'd die alone, but I didn't. I made it out. He didn't win. The women who never got to speak. The jury was shown a map recovered from Marcus's bag at the time of his arrest. The same one with 14 marked crescent moons. By the time the trial began, 11 new sets of remains had been recovered. Each grave unearthed its own horror story. A nurse missing since 2018, found in rural Tennessee. A high school senior last seen in 2014, buried beneath a broken-down hunting shack in Arkansas. Single mother from Ohio, her body still clutching a ripped corner of a denim jacket and bones. 2 decayed for names, still awaiting DNA results. Each was female. Each bore signs of being posed, almost gently, with their hands crossed over their chests. Some had cameras buried nearby, turned off. Others had cassette players playing nothing but static. Marcus had buried them like artifacts in a museum. Frozen echoes of control. That Anna's testimony. When Anna took the stand, the room fell breathless. She described years of manipulation, slow, psychological torture, escalating control, how he isolated her, gaslit her, how the violence was never just physical, it was emotional, calculated. He told me once, if you ever leave, I'll keep you anyway. I'll bury the parts of you I like. Her voice never cracked. She turned to the jury and said, he doesn't just kill women. He rewrites their stories. Don't let him finish mine. The defense crumbles. Marcus's court-appointed defense attorney tried the insanity route, claimed his client had a delusional dissociative disorder, triggered by childhood trauma and untreated mental illness, but it didn't hold. Not with the notebooks, where Marcus wrote in detail about his kills. Not with the timelines, the planning, the props, the garden motif repeated over and over in his language. This was an impulse. It was theater, orchestrated horror. The verdict after 7 weeks. The jury deliberated for just 6 hours. They returned with a unanimous decision. Guilty on 13 counts of murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, 1 count of kidnapping, and 17 counts of evidence tampering and unlawful burial. Anna didn't cry. Cassidy smiled. Marcus said nothing, just lowered his head. Was sentencing, the judge delivered the sentence with no hesitation. For the depravity, for the lives stolen, and for the sheer monstrosity of your actions, you are hereby sentenced to 13 consecutive life sentences, without the possibility of parole. May you vanish in a place as silent as the graves you left behind. Closure. Sort of Marcus was transferred to ADX Florence, a federal supermax prison in Colorado nicknamed the Alcatraz of the Rockies. His cell is solitary, 23 hours a day, and media. No contact, no audience. Exactly what he always claimed to want. Silence. But Anna doesn't believe that. He thrived on being unseen, she told reporters. Now he's forgotten. That's worse for him than death. The victim's memorial. In the months after the trial, a permanent memorial was erected in Kentucky, just outside Ashland, where Cassidy had been found alive. It's called the Garden of Names. 13 stone markers, each with a victim's name, date of birth, and, if known, the date they vanished. Point 1 is still blank for the last set of remains recovered in northern Georgia. No identity, no leads, but not forgotten. Anna visits every year. She lays a single flower at the blank marker, because I got out, because she didn't, because we all need to be remembered. A final note from Anna Blake has since changed her name and left the state. She does not do press. She does not give interviews. But before disappearing into the quiet life she always wanted, she gave one final statement. He tried to make me part of his story, but I'm writing my own now. And in mine, he's not the villain. He's just the end of a chapter. Final thoughts. The story of Marcus Blake, the Quiet Butcher, is a chilling reminder of how evil can hide behind charm, behind smiles. Behind the walls of marriage and everyday life. It is also a testament to the power of survival, of one woman's will to escape, of another woman's will to fight, and of justice, however delayed, finally catching up, because monsters may be patient, but so is the truth.
What did you think of the case? Please share your thoughts in the comment below. If you want more video like this, please be sure to like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more true crime videos. See you in the next one.